For an update on what's happening in the world of business, we're joined by Karis Garland here for that, starting in Bangladesh, where garment factory workers are continuing their protests. Tell us why.
Thousands, yes, are again taking to the streets in the industrial district just outside of the capital to demand better wages. Labour unions and workers say they need to do hours of overtime to make ends meet, as most earn the monthly minimum wage of around €70. The demonstrations have taken a violent turn. Police say dozens of factories have been ransacked and vandalised, while at least 2 people have died. Delano de Souza reports.
Violent scenes on the streets of Dhaka as garment workers protest. Riot police fired rubber bullets, tear gas and sound grenades at nearly 5,000 demonstrators blockading a road and demanding an increase in wages.
After working for 10 years, my salary is still at $96. If I add my attendance bonus, it goes up to $100. How can I survive with a wife and a child with this inflation? I need to get a loan every month, as my salary isn't enough to feed my family.
We make expensive clothes. The clothes then get sold at higher prices when they're exported overseas. The factory owners make good money, but our wages don't increase according to the money they make. What's the problem with the owners paying us higher wages if they can sell the clothes at higher prices?
Bangladesh is home to around 3,500 garment factories which employ 4 million workers. Global brands like H&M, Gap and Levi's manufacture clothes in the country, but conditions are dire. A factory owners association is now offering unions a 25% wage increase, but workers say it isn't enough. They want their salaries hiked to $200 a month.
Following in the footsteps of the US Federal Reserve, the Bank of England has held interest rates at a 15-year high, voting 6-3 in favour of keeping it at 5.25%. Policymakers warned rates would need to stay high for an extended period of time. Although UK inflation has eased to 6.7%, it's still nowhere near the 2% target. In economic projections, the bank said inflation is set to fall to below 5% in October as domestic energy bills fall. However, it cautioned oil and gas prices may start to rise again in the light of the Israel-Hamas war. Well, let's take a look at how the markets fared this Thursday. Investors on Wall Street reacted positively after Wednesday's move by the Federal Reserve to also hold rates. The major indices seeing their best day in months. The S&P 500 led gains 1.9% up there, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq added 1.8%. Apple shares dipped slightly after the bell after the company said sales fell for a 4th straight quarter to $89.5 billion. However, its earnings still beat analysts' expectations. And finally, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has hailed agreements struck at the world's first ever summit on artificial intelligence safety. The event at Bletchley Park, a former code-breaking spy base near London, gathered officials from more than 20 countries and leaders of top tech firms. Participants agreed to establish a global expert panel on AI, inspired by the United Nations Climate Change Panel, while the United States, EU and others said they would work with leading developers to test new technologies before they're deployed.
Until now, the only people testing the safety of new AI models have been the very companies developing it. That must change. So building on the G7 Hiroshima process and the global partnership on AI, like-minded governments and AI companies have today reached a landmark agreement.
All right, so lots of leaders agreeing that things need to be done on AI, Mark. Not sure what more will come out of it, but that's a story for the long term.
Indeed. We all feel very reassured, don't we? Karis, thank you very much indeed. Karis Garland there with all the business.